Okay, I can't, if I start talking about Utena, we're gonna be here all day and I'm never gonna finish this fucking video. Lily Orca doesn't understand Utena.
Most people only remember the show for being gay and covering heavy topics at all, and not about how...
No, that's how people who have only heard of Utena think about it. They just think it's like, wee, lesbians! But no, Utena, like Steven Universe, is a messy show. I would in fact say Utena is messier than Steven Universe. Has a real big tone shift, like, just in the middle of the show. They were making up a lot of this shit as they went along. They honestly were. And the director was trying to make everything gay while everyone else was resisting him. I think Utena is still a very fascinating piece of media. It's very influential, it's very important. But it is a hot fucking mess that had barely any animation budget, so keep that in mind if you watch it. Rewatching it as an adult, I'm like, yeah, it's got some problems.
Because Utena does the same thing. Take a story about abuse and then layer cosmic stakes on top of it until you've forgotten why you're here.
The really heavy stuff doesn't usually, like it changes. The really heavy stuff doesn't enter Utena until, like, the second half, after the Black Rose saga. That's really when they decided to shift the framing to abuse, and really analyzing the situation that Anthe is in, as the Rose Bride. So she's got magic powers, but she's also, like, being oppressed in a servile role. And then the show really starts to examine it. Because, like, Utena kind of starts out as, like, almost a normal magical girl show, kind of. Like, it still has that weird Art Deco aesthetic and shit going on. But it really starts out way more goofy than it ends up. Like, seriously. Like, just any Nanami episode is just utter nonsense.
At the end, Utena gets lost in the realm of darkness, and Anthe goes off looking for her, and they're never seen again.
You didn't understand the ending. You didn't understand the ending. You know, did you just watch the movie? Did you fucking watch the Utena movie? Idiot. Because it's a retelling and a sequel. Anthe does find Utena. Go fucking watch the movie.
Hell, most of the topics people claim it covers aren't actually in the show. It's in Adolescence of Utena.
Oh, so you have seen the movie! How did you not understand it's also a sequel?
When that's your inspiration, your story is already kinda doomed to never come to a satisfying conclusion, because melancholy grief is kinda all the show has going for it. There is an interesting theme in there about how you can't save someone from abuse by emulating the system that abused them in the first place, but it's buried under symbolism and knife.
That is exactly what the ending is about, you idiot!
This is still ultimately someone trying to control her, however well-meaning they may be, and she is likely setting herself up for more abuse.
Well, also, ultimately, she always answers to Akio, no matter who her current fiancé is. Akio just needs someone who has won Anthe to be able to open the palace in the sky where miracles are. That's what the whole duel thing is about. Akio is the mastermind. Akio is Anthe's older brother, and Akio has a very, very inappropriate relationship with her because he is the fallen prince. He is childhood idealism turned into the worst kind of adult, and that is the point.
Including that the devil you know is better than the devil you don't, she stabs Utena in the back. Literally. Utena got it into her head that she could beat the villain at their own game.
Lily hasn't even mentioned Akio at this point. Like, kind of an important character. He literally compares himself to Lucifer, as in the star, but, you know, you get the implication there. He is the devil. There's no ambiguity about that.
And it ultimately got her killed because it eroded the trust Anthe had in her.
She didn't die here, though. Utena gets her ass up and goes and saves Anthe from her unfair fate that Akio has put her in. And then Utena gets Anthe out of her coffin, and that is what allows Anthe to finally live as herself. It's again, obvious metaphors sailing directly over your head, Lily.
It's only when Utena approaches Anthe as an equal and a companion that Anthe's hope for something better returns to her.
Again, Utena is literally pulling Anthe out of her own coffin that she's been suffering in this entire time. And reaching Anthe's true self. She's the first one to actually see her for herself. That's the whole point of the scene. Utena is the first one to, like, break through Anthe's barriers and see the true her. And then Anthe is able to basically, like, resurrect and be able to live her own life. That is the entire point of this scene. You're not even mentioning the coffin part. Like, that's very important. The whole we are our own coffins and the world's our coffin, blah, 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 is very, very common theme in Utena. Yeah. Also, the system Utena was talking about was patriarchy, not like ruling class or police. It was patriarchy because Anthi was sacrificed by hundreds of swords of humanity's hatred so Akio could gain power. But she was trying to protect her innocent brother originally, but then Akio became a very corrupt adult. And yeah, I'm probably not explaining it the best, just go watch Utena.
There's a lot in Steven Universe about revolutionizing the world, but in Utena that was a red herring for the villains. And
who is the villains of Utena, Lily? Because you haven't mentioned him, because it's just the one. It's just Akio. It's just the end of the world. He's manipulating everybody. Have you even fucking seen Utena?
But instead of talking about the use of systems created specifically for power and domination being inherently harmful, it just goes, wah, violence bad. To its credit, Utena never explicitly makes this theme, it just kind of sits there with it and expects you to get it, which is probably why we're in this mess.
Utena doesn't have a violence bad theme. It has a the lies we tell ourselves about how society works theme. It has a gender roles are bad theme. It has a throw away the entire system of patriarchy theme. It doesn't have a violence is bad theme. The whole point of Utena is that girls get shoved into either the role of princess or witch. And Utena chose prince. But all she is really doing is emulating the system that oppresses girls in the first place. Anthi herself is a failed revolutionary girl who has now been so repressed and oppressed. She has barely any will of her own and can only act out in like tiny bits of near imperceptible passive aggression.
It's filtering Utena through the lens of early adolescent nostalgia. So about half the themes are either being filtered out or interpreted in rather simple ways. If you don't
even understand the themes of Utena, and you don't even understand the themes of Steven Universe. This is such a mess.
Looking at how that interpretation manifests, it seems like what Becky took from it was a lot of surface-level visuals.
Because the references in Steven Universe are just surface-level visual references. They were never meant to be taking on the same themes as Utena. The first time I saw Pearl in Steven the Sword Fighter, like demonstrating her sword fighting stuff, I was like, oh, I recognize the Utena animation reference immediately, because if you've ever seen Utena, you're gonna see those animations like 100 fucking times, because the show had a budget of about 5 yen and a piece of string. I told you see Utena do that fucking flip like a million goddamn times. You will see that flip. That is why I instantly recognized that flip when I saw it. We just saw the shot of, what I just said of, hang on.
I've spoken with
Utena, after being stabbed by Anthi, disappears. Utena finds her coffin where she has been trapped in this never-ending, cycle of suffering, and she forces it open and gets her out of there. Like, Akio is, like, going on and on about how, oh, the cycle is repeating itself, she's just gonna have to accept all the swords of humanity's hatred, oh well, I'll try again with another candidate. And Utena is all the while limping toward this coffin, and Akio's like, there's no point, you can't win, it's over, like, she's just gonna get stabbed repeatedly again, like, whatever, just give up, and Utena just literally, like, grabs him by the face and shoves him aside and keeps going, and it's great. So Utena, like, just basically, like, with her last breaths after being stabbed, gets the coffin open and meets the real Anthi. She even says to her, she calls her Himemiya, which is her last name. She says to her, Himemiya, it's so good to finally meet you. So she found the true Anthi and she's freeing her. That is the entire point of this scene. Like, Utena even understands this, that she never really knew Anthi until this moment. You know, that's why the scene is fucking important. She's the first one to make Anthi feel seen, literally.
Utena was a primary inspiration? Becky at most only half got it. But that's not a criticism. I'm not criticizing Becky.
Or Steven Universe and Utena are two completely different shows with different themes and different levels of, like, subject matter, and it was just visual references to a show she likes, which is fine. What is wrong with that?
So I'm a writer myself.
You know, I'm something of a writer myself. So far I am unconvinced, because you don't even seem to fucking understand what metaphors are.
As I mentioned, there is this interesting theme in Utena about how oppressive systems cannot be weaponized for good. They are designed to resist you doing that. Utena was never going to save Anthi by being the one to own her instead of her brother.
No, the point was, She was never gonna save Anthy by being a prince because the whole prince-princess system is unequal in the first place. That was the point.
Part where Anthy betrays Utena carries a lot of thematic weight to it. It's where Anthy has lost hope and chosen the devil she knows over the unknown that is increasingly looking bleak.
No, she's just that controlled by Akio that she can't believe that someone could become her prince and save her, because that whole system is broken anyway, and Anthy is kind of the one who tried to break it and was punished for it. So, you're leaving that part out.
I coped with severe abuse as a child by learning
or
stepping out into
shit.
the sun.
Hello?
So this moment resonates with
this
me in
video is
For all
about
my
Steven
criticisms of
Universe.
Utena, I think this
Why are
is
you
truly
drama
wonderful.
dumping?
How does Steven Universe pay homage to what is arguably the biggest moment in the entire series?
This wasn't an homage to that. Oh my fucking Christ. Pearl is sword fighting with one hand when this happens. It's not the same scene at all. Utena thinks she's protecting Anthy from Akio, but she doesn't know. She doesn't realize how much pull Akio has over Anthy, so Anthy stabs her because that's what Akio wants her to do, because Utena refused to become his princess. Utena refused to give up being a prince and settle into heteronormativity with Akio. And so Akio has Anthy stab her, basically. That is basically what happens in that scene. This is just Pearl being careless and getting stabbed by her own tutorial bot, and it's funny.
It's about waiting carefully for the perfect moment to thrust.
The joke is she's talking about being careful, and she wasn't being careful, and so she got stabbed. It's not an homage to fucking Utena, just because they homaged it earlier in this episode. Jesus fucking Christ. It's a very strange show. Go watch it, though. It's all on YouTube, subbed, actually. You can find the entire playlist on YouTube, subbed for free, because I'm pretty sure it's just in licensing hell right now.